So what is being suggested is that what is often expressed, that there is no free will and choice since there's no one. But if there's no one, how does one know that there's no free will or choice? So the notion that there is no free will and choice is often expressed. However, again, it leads to a profound paradox. Again, if there's no one, how can we even claim that there's no free will or choice? The essence of this paradox lies in the recognition that there's no separate, independent entity or self that can possess free will or make choices. In the apparent irrelevance of knowing whether there is free will or not, this seems to be a remarkable revelation that there is no actual knowing of free will or its absence, as knowing requires a knower. However, in what's being expressed as non-duality, it is contended that the knower is a mental construct, a fabricated notion, much like the idea of free will itself. Therefore, all claims of knowing or not knowing even and the beliefs that underpin them are inherently illusory. Even knowing that there is a contracted energy or energy is a construct, or even knowing that anything, even knowing unknowing, is similarly made up. Since there is no concrete source or reality behind the act of knowing, all knowing is seen as a mental fabrication. It transcends the boundaries of being either true or false. As these distinctions seemingly again rely on the presence of a concrete knower and an objective reality, in this view, knowing is neither right or wrong or true or false. It is not a constructed truth or made up fallacy. When this seeming assertion is made that there is no one possessing free will or choice, it is a direct consequence of recognizing that the one who appears to hold such a position is a mere product of thought, a mental construct born from the illusion of the illusory me or self. Apparently, non-duality, the absence of free will and choice, stems from the absence of independently existing self or a separate individual, so to speak, that could lay claim to such attributes. It challenges the conventional understanding of individual agency and autonomy, contending that these are basically mere illusions perpetuated by the illusory mind, by the made-up brain. So what's being expressed is it is just what it is, no matter what it is. What seems to be obvious is the lack of agency, the autonomous appearance of what seems to be appearing, even if it's not reality, because reality is just another construct, or even saying that it's an illusion is also a construct. So the direct response to what is being asked, if there's free will or choice, who knows? But seemingly, since there's no knower, there's no such thing as choosing, even if choosing seems to appear, which seems to be a mystery, which seems to be a fallacy, which seems to be an error. Scientifically, as we've been discussing in the past little while, there has been several studies. One particular scientist studied that for 30 years, it can't come up with the conclusion that there's free will. Therefore, there is no one doing anything. Although there's no acceptance of what's being said, because that just becomes a knowing, it is quite obvious that what seems to be appearing as a construct seems to be reality. Hence, the reality that appears is a construct, but no one knows that as well, because this will come from an apparent knowing. Although there's no one unknowing, because there's just simply no one, and I can probably hold another 2-day event in asserting that obviousness, that there's no one, not coming from knowing, but from a place of unknowing, the obviousness of it all, in the absence of thoughts, in the absence of ideas, in this direct nakedness, sometimes called what is, or sometimes called whatever comes up, cannot be constructed, cannot be captured as a word, as an idea, as a figuring out. So what is simply being presented here is that whatever seems to appear is already the case. And there's no choice, although a choice seems to appear of what seems to be the case. But there's no one that's doing any of this. There's no doership. And again, that can be attributed to some scientific findings. You can go back into research and everything. It will always end up with more turtles under. No one knows this. The conversation earlier about, if there is a contracted energy, it's the same thing. It's not a knowing. Although what's being presented usually in speaking about this is that there seems to be an obstruction or an illusory contraction that's not really there, isn't it? In my recent one-on-ones, if you've watched some of them, when asked after seeing that all that there is this unknowingness, I often ask the question, so is contracted energy just a thought? And the response has always been, yeah. Because this can't be thought of. This can't be positioned. This can't be concluded. Because it's just boom. It's just wow. It's just whatever it is. And before the wow or the boom lands, it all encompasses everything that seems to appear. It can appear as a question, it can appear as an answer, but there's really no definite answer, or no one is in the know of this. How can there be a knowing, a conclusion, a position, although even if it's positioned as no one knows this, becomes another idea of something that cannot be constructed. As mentioned earlier, the favorite word earlier was this animated aliveness, is this vast openness of whatever seems to appear as it, no matter what it is, no matter if it's a construct or seemingly something that is thought of, because what that is seemingly stemming from is a knower. But when it's obvious that there's no knower, obvious that there's no me, it doesn't mean that it knows or not knows. It's just what is. There's going to be seemingly this felt sense of separation, although not by anyone. It's like stepping on grass. It's still going to step on grass. It's still going to open doors. If there's no sense of a felt sense of separation, that it will be walking through walls. It will not be able to hold anything. It will be just comatose in a bed, not moving. So in this apparent appearance of choosing or not choosing, there is really no conclusion to that. The only thing that's obvious is that there's no one that knows. If there's no one that knows, then there's no one that has free will or choice. If there's no one that has free will or choice, then there's this already perfection, isn't it? Not the perfection based on someone's idea of what perfection should be, not a personal perfection, but an impersonal perfection. Like a paradise without a geography, without any boundaries. Like a freedom that is not known. Like a love that cannot be spoken about. Like an emptiness with no definition. And all that there is this unknowingness that seems to appear as knowing, that seems to appear as choosing, although it has never chosen to do anything, although it has never spoken about anything, although it has never been able to grasp anything. We can say also that it's just this innocence that cannot be labeled even as innocence, because it tarnishes the moment that it is labeled as something or concluded as something that is known. It's just this wowness, this boomness, this bombastic appearance of something that is indivisible. So even appearances creates this construct of a subject and object. So that's not even that, because there's no one really seeing any of this. If there's no one, no one's really hearing of any of this. If there's no one, no one is understanding any of this. If there is no one, but seemingly there seems to be this construct of this communication that does not really mean anything, that does not really have a source. No one can come up with this, because coming up with nothing is just something. If you have any questions, please go ahead.
Yeah, I have a question.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, please.
Oh,
Hello, Corey.
hi. Well, two questions really.
Oh, for sure. 10 questions. It's okay.
One of them is not very relevant, but it was just, I don't know if you got my message on chat to ask if it was possible to receive a recording of our chat last
Of
Monday.
course, yeah. I've just been busy lately. Sorry if I forgot about that. Yeah. But I will, yeah. That was a beautiful chat too.
Yeah, and I'd just like to get into the energy of it again because it helped me so much. Yeah, thank you.
Of course.
Thank you. And the other thing is, this is really hard for me to say.
Yeah, for sure.
Before the last meeting, you were talking about nothing. It doesn't matter what people say, nothing affects you or something. But it's really hard for me to speak up because that's always been a problem for me. But I was nearly going crazy. It was just like, I don't know, just streams and streams and streams of words. And it got to a point when I thought, I'm going to scream if everybody doesn't shut up, and if you don't shut up, and I'm going to leave the meeting. I can't. This is absolute, and all this stuff going on in my head. And I was saying to myself, that's it as well.
That's it as well. Yeah. Yeah.
Well. I know that, and there's no one doing it. But why it's affecting me so much? Because it isn't necessary. There was a short period of silence right at the beginning of the meeting, which we don't often have in your sessions.
Yeah.
And I thought that was just so beautiful. And I know that's a preference, and talking is it, there's no good about that. I do know all the answers, but it was just, it affected me so much. And I thought at the end of the day, why can't we just have silence a bit more?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Me to say, because it sounds like criticism. I suppose it is in a way, but then that's what's happening, isn't it?
Yeah. You know what? Well, you know what? It doesn't really matter if silence or talking happens, right?
That's what I said. Yeah, I know that.
Yeah. And it also, the preference, there's also no one choosing to do that. So if it likes that, and that's how direct it is.
Yeah.
It's not trying to get to anything, right? And it's almost like, I really like this summary that AI did. It basically said, it's really funny, right? Overall, the meeting seems to be a casual and philosophical conversation without a clear agenda or action items. So the character wants to have, something to get. And that's okay. You know what I'm saying? Or silence. It meaning that there should be a preference, or there should be some flow to it that should be preferable.
Yeah.
And it's all innocent. You know what I'm saying? It's just innocence. All I see is innocence, not liking it, or kind of like, too much words or something. That's it. That's it as well. Yeah. That's also it. You already said that. Yeah.
I know. But it's just so it's so difficult. I think I was really stretching myself to speak up because I find it so difficult.
Yeah,
and that sounds like a criticism. So I thought, I'm going to go for it.
Yeah. Go for it.
So, and I know that won't offend you. Of course it won't, because there's no you. But and I kind of hate myself for it in a way. I don't, because nobody else feels like that. Everybody wants to chat. And anyway, that's I just thought I would share that with you.
Oh, no worries at all. No worries. Yeah. That's it too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think I remember that from yesterday. There was this moment, which, as she says, is quite unusual in these chats, where there was like a pause, and it sort of held for a while. And I thought, oh, this is a surprise. And I thought this is quite nice. And I wonder how long it's going to last. And I bet it's not going to last long. But oh my God, it's still quiet. Oh my God, still nobody's speaking. And then eventually somebody did break the silence. And I would say here as well, there was a preference for that to have gone on. If that had gone on for another minute or so, that would have been really nice. I guess as an experience more than anything else, because there's no meaning in whether if it's silent or chatty or rowdy or arguments or everyone telling each other they love them. It's all one, isn't it? I mean, when I say all one, I mean, there's no difference and it's all the same.
Even if there is kind of like a seeming kind of like rejection, you know what I'm saying, of what's being said, that's it too.
Yeah.
The rejection and the acceptance is it too. But again, it's such a it's often overlooked, but there's really no choosing that.
It's just an experience, like
yeah,
of course it is.
Yeah.
I think for me, it was just more about challenging myself to speak up when it was something that I didn't feel good about.
Yeah.
I think that's all it was.
Love you, Corey. That was beautiful. Beautifully said. Yeah.
Oh.
No offense taken whatsoever, to be honest.
I know that's the only reason I was able to say it, because you don't take offense.
Yeah.
It's not just you. I mean, lots of people.
I did a one-on-one with someone for a couple, maybe 3 times, and the admission finally came. She goes, I can't stand it. The past, one-on-ones and everything. And then it clicked that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
No, of course not.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah.
No.
And there's no offense taken. It's okay. Yeah.
And I knew all of that. I mentally knew all of that.
Yeah.
It just seemed to affect me so much.
Yeah.
But
thank you.
But thank you.
Oh, sorry. If you want to say, I just have Lila here. Lila, hi. You're muted.
Mute. There we go.
Yeah.
Hi. So I have the thing too of not speaking up, but it seems like there's I keep thinking, okay, maybe I'll just schedule another one-on-one, but it seems like there's just all these swirling stories that I feel like need to get out, or
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But also not wanting to interrupt the group, and feeling like Corey, I'm prompted to speak up because she's saying like no one else feels like that. Like, this is so strong here, like so much, like sometimes the questions, like I can't take hearing the questions of others, and like there's like, how like feeling really guilty that like, oh, I shouldn't be like that. And today I had the same kind of reaction to like the talking and like not wanting to say anything because I don't want anyone to take it personally, but like I had this image remembering of one of a cat I had, really loving cat. For a while we had a lot of cats because we forgot to didn't neuter some on time, so we had way too many kittens. And there was one cat who was just so sweet, but for some reason he didn't like one of the other cats, and one of the other cats came and was like, the sweet cat was sitting on my lap and the other cat was coming up and meowing at the end of the bed. Meow, meow, meow. He was just on, and the cat got off my lap, went over, slapped the other cat in the face, and then just came back and sat down on my lap. It's like it happens for no. It's like, it's not, in a way, sometimes almost when something's personal, it's not personal. Like
it's not. Yeah, it's not.
You don't know why sometimes when someone's speaking, it's like, and then it can change in a second. We can be like, oh my God, I can't take that anymore. It's like, oh my God, I love that person so much.
It's
thank you for that, Lila. I'm glad you shared that, because that was it. I like that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for doing that. Yep. Let me share something too. You know what? To add to that, right? When I was listening to Jim and Tony, I had aggression. I would usually, turn off my computer. Like it's like slam my MacBook and everything, and just anger came out, right? Or frustration, and like, shut up, just shut up, that kind of thing, right? And so I add to that story, what I'm saying, of being there as well.
Yeah.
And sometimes, and you're right, Lala, sometimes it's someone asking a question, I'm like, would that person shut up already? They're just kind of like, and sometimes it's the speaker. I'm like, oh, just shut up, whatever. And I did tell Tony that in Jim at one point. I'm like, I hated you for so long at one point.
What did they say?
They just laughed, kind of like what I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
I used to kind of like, just, you have a laptop or a MacBook, right? Just kind of like slam it, and walk out the room. It's for no reason. And then someone will say that, why do you keep on listening when you're so angry all the time? I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah. And that was when there was somebody there.
Yes. Yeah.
And
it's even the same, like, let's just be completely honest here. I don't listen to non-duality anymore. I don't listen to other speakers at all. There's just no interest whatsoever. Even when I was hosting some of the speakers, I would just tune out and not even pay attention to what's being said. Even when I was a host, I didn't really pay attention much. But yeah. But thank you for the honesty. Very much appreciated. And I bet you, if this gets released, there's a whole bunch of people will say that yes. And that's what I said earlier when I said that, what, it's great when someone challenges a speaker, because it knocks off the seeming pedestal that whatever the seeker put them on, and just be able to speak up.
I think the idea that it shouldn't have, like, you shouldn't be irritated with other people like that ask questions or whatever, perpetuates the irritation, because you're just like, I shouldn't. Oh my God, this is so terrible. But what? So then I was like, okay, then it could be over. I don't know.
There's still irritation that happens here. It doesn't matter, what I'm saying, what seems to appear. There's just a love for speaking about this. But the seeming compassion comes out because I was there before.
Yeah.
I was there, that was angry and irritated and all that kind of stuff. Like, for example, last night, my brother was screaming at me because he was carrying my mom, and my brother has a heart condition, and he said, I could have a heart attack, you're carrying, and you're not doing anything. I'm like, I'm sorry. And he just kept on going and going. When somebody's triggered and angry and everything, right? So it just kept on saying, you don't care about my health. I have a stent in my heart. I'm like, it's okay. Chill. It's all right. So there was irritation here too. I'm like, it's okay. I said sorry already, but he just kept on going and going and going. So that still happens, but there's no more kind of like holding on to that. It's just innocent. So the sorries are faster. I'm sorry I did that. There's no one kind of like saying, before, if that happened, there would have been kind of like, a few days of not talking to each other.
Yeah.
So it still arises, but it's not engaged anymore.
You were able to say sorry despite the fact you were feeling so angry.
Yeah. But it was not in a condescending way or anything. It was just direct sorry, agreeing that, that I should have been, because I was just carrying bags. And here was my brother that has a heart condition carrying my mom towards and then he said sorry too at the end, so it's just, it's okay. But before, again, it's in everything, right? So, but before it would be stewed and brewed and marinated. 3 days later, you're not talking. And then you talk to your other brothers and your sister, And then you try to get aside, I'm like, he's wrong and right and everything. It was just direct. I'm like, yeah, I'm wrong. I'm sorry. Yeah. Just let me know next time. Yeah.
Lovely.
Yeah. It's just what it is. But thank you for just being brutally honest. That's good. Thank you, Corey. And thank you, Lila. Unless there's more questions or comments.
A lot of questions, but maybe too many. So many. And I do
Lila, you can call me too, right? You have my number.
I have a thing about the phone, and that's sort of a story, but like I also like I don't have, it's so like swirling and not like I don't have one concrete here's I need an answer to. Like it's like a lot. But so I think I'll just say that one thing that's been coming up a lot, I think, not a lot, just in the last couple of days, noticing like that you've been talking about science and a lot coming up about like mentioning your dogs or dogs.
Yeah.
I kind of like this anger, and it's loudly seen to be a story. I mean, obviously seen to be a story that like that I'm angry that I was raised by an atheist mom and told there's no God, there's no hell. Came from a semi-religious background and was angry about it. She wasn't going to raise her kids that way. But I grew up in a neighborhood in a small town that was only God-loving people. And so there was nobody else that had this. So I attributed the feeling of separation to my family is so different. We're so different than everyone else.
Yeah.
But still, you're still in this culture of religion. You're still like Sunday had 3 channels on TV back in the old days. Like on Sunday, the only thing on was like religious stuff. And my mom would tell me, now, that's not true. Or blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Whatever. So you can't really escape that. And the whole culture set up in, right and wrong and morality. Like everything is so, like all TV shows used to have a religious kind of conclusion.
Oh, yeah. Every TV show that I used to watch before, there was a lesson at the end. I don't know if you remember that, like
religious and about like when I was like, I'm 10 years older than you. So like even more so. But like, I
can imagine. Like, like Little House on the Prairie. Remember that? Yeah.
But all shows, like all of them, like all
of them. Yeah. And it's just a structure again, right? It's a structure that seemingly beginning to crumble and everything. There's shows about, I don't know, whatever now that seems to appear. Yeah.
So I got into the spirituality because I always had was raised on a farm. My mom told me anyway, I don't know what my sister heard, that like that humans are animals. There's no difference. You're all like physical bodies, whatever, like basically our bodies. And so like, I believe that. And I kind of was like, I wouldn't say a crusader for animals, but in my head I was. And so I grew up in this place. Well, animals don't have a soul and, they don't count and only people go to heaven. And so like, I kind of had rage and anger. And I think that's kind of happening. Like and I think like when I found Muji, like when I always had a lot of animals, and I had a dog that was sick, had cancer, and he was sort of like my, I guess, soul dog.
Yeah,
like your San Miguel.
San Miguel was my soul dog. Yeah.
He was always at my feet. He was always with me, but there was something about him I didn't know. Like, he's a mystery. Like all my other, like I know them, but him, like even on my own feed, like what is he? And like, what is it that I love so much? It can't just be that he's beautiful. It can't be just whatever, like his personality. It can't be. So I was looking for something deeper, and then I found out that he had this cancer that they said was totally incurable, really, like at 9 years old. Like, and I just was like, knew I had a short time, so I was just kind of like trying to absorb him and trying to somehow grasp onto something. And then I found this, like after he died, like Muji talking about like presence. And so I went and it was kind of like, here I'm telling a big story, sorry. And I
that's okay
relate to the story because everyone's from different backgrounds and this seems so specific. But like so there was I think there was kind of like, oh, now like he was talking about awareness as God in a way. And I kind of felt like, okay, now, oh my God, now I know what this God is. And, maybe the people I grew up with were confused and they think it's a man in the sky, but it's this. And maybe like now I can sort of belong. But so I spent like 5 or 6 years trying to do the inquiry. I was really looking for my dog.
Yeah.
I don't know, out in outer space, like way so far from my dog. Seemingly so far from what I was looking for.
I'm sorry, I'm laughing with you, but I can see that, like, there's something lack, and all of a sudden you're like in a quest, and then you end up in this whatever. But go ahead, sorry.
Yeah. So last couple of days, like that you've been talking about science and I was looking in science for this, for life. What and it was animals. Like I want to know animal behavior. I want to help animals. I want to whatever else. I want to show that they're like people in some way that doesn't involve thought. But like last couple of days that you've been talking about science so much, and I'm like, I was so much more free. This is but I was more free when I just thought that at the time, like as a child, I was terrified of dying because I thought this will end and I don't know what this is. And I did think I'm something, I'm someone, I don't know what, I don't know where I come from. So that separation still was there, and the fear of dying, fear of my mom dying, fear of my animals dying. So like, but then there was a thought like there were times of magnificence, like looking at the stars and going, oh my God, what is this? And when my dog, I had him euthanized, which I still like, oh, should I have done that? Because like maybe he wasn't suffering or whatever. But at the time when he passed, it was like, oh my God, what was that? Like, whoa.
That I scheduled San Miguel to be euthanized, but he died the day before the doctor can even come.
Every time you talk about dog, like
I know.
About dogs,
I should send you my video because I'm singing like "You Are My Sunshine" to him. I cry when I watch it.
Oh no, I was singing Harvest Moon to my dog when he was.
I love that song.
And I was like,
love that song. That was making me cry. Okay, keep on.
So like the farther I got into sort of trying to understand this presence and what is my dog like, less magnificent it seems like while I was with Muji, like 5 or 6 years, like more, and people would be like, no, only human consciousness only has the capacity to whatever, and I'm like, it seems so far from what I wanted. And
that's just another knowing. See, you know what, it's just so the moment that there's a knowing, again, whatever, respect to whatever, but there's just a knowing that happens that seems to create this absolute truth, right? So even as far-fetched and made up that there's only human consciousness, it's the same thing saying that there's only unicorns because it's made up, right? So that creates this idea that you don't know something.
And I did think that by knowing what my dog was, somehow I always be able to hold my dog and he was the unknowable. That's what I love.
Yes, exactly. There's no separation, you know what I'm saying, from a dog and you and the stars and the poop, you know what I'm saying?
I wasn't into the spirituality stuff when he passed, like at the time. I was kind of almost doing like an inquiry, looking at him and thinking like, well, what's the difference between like trying to feel like, what is this? Like, but like I kind of wrote this little poem about how he like, I don't remember what it was and I'm no poet, but the only part I can sort of think of was like he was like a beautiful firework lighting up the sky, like he was that he was fire, that was like, it's ungraspable, unknowable.
It is. You know what, for the last session I'll talk about animals, you know what I'm saying, I'll open with that because I'll talk about animals and what is and everything, because I talked about it yesterday and it was quite powerful. I don't know, somehow, but it's a different crowd, right? That crowd is kind of funny, right? Because I'm getting so much emails now, not from yesterday, from Friday. I had a crowd of newbies. They don't know what the me is. They don't know what contracted energy is. They don't know radical non-duality is. What they know is consciousness, awareness, all that kind of stuff like that, right? So, and that conversation came up too about, well, what about animals? So I'll talk about it later. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'll open it with. I closed the last session. I did 5 sessions on Friday, which was like 10 hours talk. And I basically asked, and if there's a God, does God have free will?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think like when they speak about highest consciousness, like what I wanted is kind of the lowest consciousness. Like I've been going in the wrong direction.
You know what? It's the intoxication of all of these knowing, right? Knowing this, knowing that, and everything. And then you're intoxicated with someone you think that knows more than you, like Muji. Right. And then and that's what I thought too. Like I would look up completely to any, although it's just innocence, I would look up to them and think that they have the answers for me.
Yeah.
They would have the answer for my grief of my dog and everything, all that, whatever seems to appear, that's something the lack, and kind of like I'm hoping that the missing in me can be fulfilled by whatever master or teacher or speaker that's out there. So these conversations is to, flatly admit that there's no one higher or below. It's just this. Not even animals below. It's just this. You know what I'm saying? It's the openness of that. It's the openness. When there is a construction, then there is a gatekeeping for your happiness, because someone seems to know more than you. And then that's why science, that's why I added, how many people have basically kind of like cried and laughed about, when the science came in, basically said that, oh, I don't have a lot of guilt about that anymore because there's no one choosing. That kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? It's even more, it's more sobering than non-duality, some sciences, if you know what I'm talking about, right? Because there's this seeming ideas of what needs to drop and everything, when there's a sober talk that it already is.
Sometimes it seems more important what people think than what the facts are. I don't like that's like I don't know, that's like maybe a holdover from being a child, and it doesn't matter if you think that, if you didn't do something your parents think you did, because you're saying
I know what you're saying.
Society still doesn't believe it. I don't know. Yeah. But okay, thank you.
We'll chat. Just message me. We'll chat, and I'll just send you a link. You know what I'm saying? That offer still stands.
Okay.
To talk, yeah. Okay. Thank you, Lila. Gunver. Hey, Gunver.
Hi there.
Hello.
I just wanted to ask about something from this conversation that you had with Corey and Leela.
Yeah.
Like in that clear seeing, there still seem to be preferences. Like I prefer black from white and ketchup from mustard. So when Corey was referring to the silence, it can also be a preference.
Yeah.
Even if it's just what's happening.
Yeah,
you can still have a preference for it and not just see it for that is also what is, I guess. Or is
it doesn't even need a reason, you know what I'm saying? It's just what seems to be appearing, right? So
but there seems to be a choice of preferences, like there seems to be a knowing that I prefer mustard from mayonnaise or whatever. There seems to be a knowing of these preferences embedded in the being.
That's what I mean. Although there's no choice, there seems to appear a choice, like almost like a narrative that appears when something happens, like when there's a reaction. For example, for example, if I'm talking, or if there's silence and everything, a preference might be there, like, oh, I like that.
Yeah.
And then basically someone will say that I like that because, then there's narrative, although there's no reason for that really, you know what I'm saying? It's just what seems to appear. So the thought, the idea that there's a reason also arises, and that's also it.
Yeah, because I can see that. So that means actually that there aren't really a preference. It's just seemingly a preference for someone.
Seemingly a preference, yeah. Yeah, there's really no preferences because there's really no one choosing.
Yeah, so there's no one choosing between mustard and mayonnaise or whatever.
They did a whole bunch of I can't remember the test. They did a test if somebody chose coffee or tea.
Yeah.
So they were able to see that the apparent thought comes in after the actual physical choosing. Yeah. So for example, like there's like an aversion, for example, to speaking and everything, and then a thought will come and say that I don't like when there's so much talking or whatever.
So the choosing comes first.
Yeah. but there's no one choosing, because it's automatic, right? And again, science is trying to explain it, that there is, it's predetermined and everything, meaning that it could be an aversion to whatever seems to appear, right? So, but they keep on looking at all of those tests and it still comes up with nothing, meaning that it's still a mystery. But there's really no one choosing.
Because then what is that seeming action that we call, in lack of a better word, choice, that comes ahead of that thought? What is that? That's
even it's a mystery. It's a mystery. For example, there's another test that they did that were seemingly like a few seconds behind what's happening in time, our thoughts behind it, right? It's quite fascinating, I'm saying, when they do all of these tests. I
get my heart is beating so fast now, like there's something so brilliant about this thing.
That's brilliant.
You can't even try and choose ahead of that thought.
No, you can't.
After that thought, you can't even do it.
You can't. That's what I'm saying, that when there is just this, agency, meaning that there's no one doing it, then there's peace that seems to kind of like, it can't be shaken, right? Because like, okay,
that's why
even the ugly thoughts that come in, or the anger, I'm saying, okay, it's because there's really no one choosing it scientifically.
You can actually completely surrender to that peace. Meaning nobody's surrendering, but
it's just peace, really, right? There's just a thought. There's a thought that there's gunver that's reacting to it, but it's actually just peace. The gunver is just a delayed reaction, what I'm saying, to what is already peaceful.
I'm too slow.
Too slow,
for my own shit.
It can't catch up with the infinite, what I'm saying, which is what is.
Catch up with it. But another thing I wanted to ask, which was also touched upon in that conversation, was you made this little explanation about your brother and carrying your mom's groceries and this.
My mom was trying to. My mom is she's further deteriorating, meaning that she can't. She had an accident, right? So she can't, her feet go sideways now, and so you have to carry her full weight to be able to put her in a car, right? So so we went out to eat. We went for dinner last night, right? And then my brother gave me the leftover bags, and then so he proceeded and I'm the one that usually does it. But I was not paying attention, I'm saying, I was just, my little nieces and nephew were there, so my brother was trying to put my mom in, and then when she was on her seat, he basically get upset at me. He goes, I have a heart condition. I've had I've had a stent in my heart put, and I could have had a heart attack doing that. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. And then he just kept on going and going. I'm like, chill, it's okay, chill. You know what I'm saying? But he just kept on going and going and going and going. And but I did not really engage in it. You know what I'm saying?
No, but when I hear this,
but there was irritation here. I'm like, chill, come on, chill.
I get really like kind of like a little bit when I hear this brother sibling, because I'm soon seeing my sister, and we don't meet more than maybe once or twice every second year or something. And I'm already rehearsing my lines, like what I'm gonna say to her in order to keep the peace, kind of thing, because we're so different, and there's a lot of love, but I can see that there's something here that's so nervous about this, that it's gonna fall back into some sort of conditioning, and there's nothing I can do about it.
Oh, you know what? That's not a complete story. I just remembered. I don't have a memory, but I remembered that when he was kept on going and going, I'm like, chill. I'm like, don't be so passive aggressive. Just say it. Just say that you can't do it. And he goes, I'm not being passive aggressive. I'm aggressive. So that kind of like that go, I'm like, sorry. I said, I'm sorry. So there was also this character that was completely, that was even kind of like, even interacting with that. But that's also, there's no one choosing to do that as one, but there's no hang up here. So I love my brother. I love my brother.
I totally love my sister also, really. And we have something brilliant. We have really a connection also. But we're also seemingly very different. And this part I always seem to be the one who actually say I'm sorry, but I'm also the one who's direct, so we can get it out of the way. And that is never really taken very well from. So I'm sort of like, I'm kind of like putting down the lines of paper now, but you know, it's not going to work that way.
Yeah. So energetically, what happened was there was no stickiness there, right? So there was a seeming kind of like empty banter back and forth, but there was no one that, you know, because there was a provocation there, but basically said, you never want to talk about, you know, issues like health, Emerson, that kind of thing, you know. And he was trying to broke, but there was just no response, you know what I'm saying? Kind of like, sorry. There was just a lot of that, but there was still an irritation, but there's no more psychological entanglement with what happened. So it was just empty, you know what I'm saying? It was just empty.
Gonna try and see what comes from that. So
let me know. We'll talk.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Emerson.
That word sorry, it means so much. Such a little word, but it can do so much good, can't it? Sorry. It's just...
oh, sorry, Corey.
I can't hear it.
No, I was just saying that that word sorry, it's huge. And it's so simple to say. Even, you know, you've got nothing to be sorry for, you haven't done anything, just to say it. It's so peace-provoking, isn't it?
It is. True. I used to kind of like be argumentative with my siblings, you know what I'm saying? And we will go into this famous war with each other, right? That would last for days or even months sometimes, or not speak. Because I would be like, why are you attacking me? So it's just an attack on the character. So sorry just comes out now. You know what I'm saying? Sorry.
Yeah. And sorry really appeals to this humanity in us, if there are anything that can be called human.
Yeah.
It just really appeals to that in us, I feel.
The authenticity and the openness.
When I go.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Yes,
I will remember that when I go. I take it as a kind of advice right there, you know.
And you know what? When we got to the house and we were putting my mom on the wheelchair and everything, he goes, let me do it. Then he goes, it's just hard to pull her up. It's okay if I do this. And so I know that there was peace already, right? So, and at the end of it, he goes, I'm really sorry. You know what? I was just completely thrown off with because I thought I could do it and everything. And I'm like, I said, I'm sorry too. I said, it's also my fault. I should have been there right away. So there was like just peace. Before it would have been like, you know, because there's 5 siblings, right? They'll be kind of like, do you know what he did? And then the other sibling would be like,
oh my God.
And then there'll be sides now, right? There'll be sides now. You know, one part of the sibling will talk, and then one sibling will agree with you. You're like, yeah, you're right. He's wrong and everything. And the other sibling will say, you're right. He's wrong and everything.
But Emerson, do your mom hear this? I mean,
no, actually, it's good that her hearing is not really that. Okay.
Fortunate for her.
She was just talking about the food. She goes, that was a really good food. I'm like, yes, Mom. Because that was really good food. We went to this really nice restaurant and she liked the service and she was talking about it. She was just completely oblivious to the fight that was happening behind the scenes, so to speak. It's the hard of hearing that seems to appear, right? But it was perfect as it is. And
no, thank you for that advice, Corey. I take it as an advice.
Beautiful advice, Corey.
Yeah.
Beautiful,
Thank you so much.
I'm just going to let my doggy in. She's crying again. Just a second. My brother is supposed to be here, but he's not here yet. So sorry about that, guys. He's working. Maria.
Hi.
Hello.
Just on a few things, and I'm like really aware now that I might be one of those people who talks a lot that people get annoyed at, but it is what it is.
No.
I'm sorry. Not sorry. Kind of sorry. It is what it is.
It is what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, like I can go on forever and I am aware of it, but yeah. No, I really there's two things. First thing was that just the kind of more directness, I'm finding that as well, that it's much easier just to, because I'm not scared of the anger anymore, because I don't take it so seriously anymore. It's you know. And then another thing came up kind of linked to that when you were talking about the dogs, and I've always had this thing that I felt like kind of like I'm a bad person because I like I'm not really that drawn to babies or dogs, or I don't mind them. They're great. Any animal. I'm not. And I've always been like, wow, like I don't really love very easily.
Well, I was the same as you. I was afraid of dogs. I didn't really care much about, you know, it was funny, right? Until it somehow something changed, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, go ahead. Sorry. I just wanted to add
no,
that.
Exactly. And
I didn't like babies too, to be honest, until I saw my nieces and nephews. And now it's like, oh wow. Right?
But I have nieces and nephews and I don't have that. I do love, and I say that I don't really like my parents either. Like I feel like I don't really love, and saying it is like, I'm like, oh my God, I'm a really awful person.
No.
But it's like when I kind of
that's also what is.
Right. And in the whole no free will thing, it kind of softens it, because then
doesn't it? Huh? Yeah.
It's not like there's a narrative of me being a bad, unloving person anymore. And then there's a spontaneity that arises that suddenly I'm like, oh, this kid is fun. Or I don't know. It's kind of, Anyway.
You know, it was funny, right? Someone from the Friday thing, you know, which I think is probably one of the kindest person, you know, from that group anyway, that I've met, started bawling his eyes out, and he goes, I thought I was the biggest POS on the planet. And then he was like, but and he goes, but you're saying that it's just, there's no one choosing that? I'm like, no, even that's just a thought. And then he was just completely
Emerson,
shocked.
you're breaking up.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
How about now?
Me.
It's just me.
That's
okay.
Better.
That's better. Okay. So the idea of the character, right? That there was someone that's choosing to do whatever, right? Or there is a agency, what seems to appear. And then he admitted that he said that I don't love my parents, and that's his biggest thing.
I don't love my parents,
and that's the thing, right? That's why he thought he was the biggest POS of all time, and that kind of like, you know, he went to seeking. He went to different, you know, sangha, you know what I'm saying, and doing all of this stuff and everything, and he goes, I'm like, I think that you're one of the nicest guys, you know, saying. He goes, you do? He goes, but I don't love my parents. I'm like, it doesn't change anything.
That's so funny, because that's literally how I feel. Like, and it's like a big shamey secret, and then it, because it feels so real, there's a lot of like trauma work. And I must be really traumatized. Ooh.
Just a second, I'm just going to
sure.
Maria?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't love my parents either.
Oh, really? Yeah. It's funny.
It's a hard thing.
Yeah.
I just want to ask, like, what does loving mean? Sometimes I feel like I don't love anyone, like including my children, but I know I do. Like, even my dogs, sometimes I feel like that. But what is love? I guess that's what I'm just like, how do we find, how is it defined? Like, how?
But a second-hand emotion. What's love got to do with it?
What is love? What is it?
Sorry. So that's a little bit of the singing there. Maria sings better. But
what is love?
What is, baby, you don't hurt me. No, I'm doing the Tina Turner version, you know, from the from the 80s, right?
Different generation. No, just kidding. But what Lila was saying is exactly how I kind of feel too, that it's like, I don't know, that like loving someone feels very like transactional, actually. And I don't know. You go ahead. Sorry. I don't even know what I'm saying.
But nothing to say, really, but it's just what
is.
Okay. It's just what is. Yeah. No matter what it is, it's just innocence. So what? For who?
But the feeling of love is so good and yummy.
Yeah. But it doesn't have to have a reason or someone. It doesn't have to be parental.
But wouldn't it be more fun if it was?
For who though?
Oh. Okay. That's nice.
Yeah.
No free will.
Yeah.
And that's also then, if there's no free will, I don't need to spend all my time in therapy, like trying to figure out why I don't love my parents.
It is what it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just basically let's just even say it. Let's just go even further. There's not even a relationship outside of a thought.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what's really.
And there's no really difference if you love your parents or you don't love your parents. It's just what is. So it's not better, it's not worse, it's just what is.
That's really hard. I don't believe you, but I will.
Yeah, please don't. Please don't.
No. As in, like, I know it makes, and I know that what you're saying is true or whatever, but there's still a very strong system working that is like, you need to love your parents or you're bad.
Yeah, well, if you look at it's been ingrained, right? You know, like if it's in the 10 Commandments.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. There was and it's not a fixed thing, you know what I'm saying? It's not something that is fully there, if you know what I'm talking about. It disappears the moment that you go to sleep, and maybe on, you know, when they're giving you something, it's there. Maybe when they're absent. There was a thought that I had while I was in exile. I was like, I have not thought of my parents for 2 weeks. Are they even real?
Yeah, I feel it.
Is my love even real? Is it a construct?
I've noticed that when the guilt drops away, because basically in my mind, if I feel guilty, it means I love them. Like that's some weird, and when that drops away, then actually it's just, there is some love there.
Yeah.
And
but the love that we, okay, and this is going to be hard for people to characters anyway to hear, but love is a construct when it's conditional. It's an illusion. It comes and goes. It's not permanent, isn't it? Just like, okay, my dog is crying now. I'm sorry. Sorry about that. But yeah, it's a construct. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a construct. Everything that is known is a construct. And that what seems to, you know, and it's funny, right? Because there were some periods of time that there was this character that was trying to, that's what it was all obsessed about, was that romantic love. Because it was always a place of lack. There was always a need for some monogamous, you know, like a serial monogamous that just kept on going from one relationship to other. There was no contentment, so to speak.
Yeah, that's totally me as well.
Yeah.
And there's a very unwillingness to let go of that still, but
that's also too. It. And that's also it. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's wrong with that?
Oh my God, so much. But in my head. Apparently. According to the therapist. But, yeah, all right. No, I don't have anything else to say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Hello.
Hello.
Is it my turn? I don't know.
I think so.
Oh, because I never found the AI. I never found the AI stuff because a message came up that it's on the side or something, and I didn't even bother because I'm going to lose whatever anyway, like I usually do. But what Gunvor was talking about a little while ago, preference. Okay, now just hear me out.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm trying to make a point. All right.
Worries.
Okay, now
point away.
I didn't read the book.
Yeah.
The Determinism, but I read a couple of little whatever excerpts or whatever, and an interview that somebody did with him, Sapolsky.
Yeah.
And anyway, what I said yesterday, he's determined that this free will, this choice, of course, it actually happens a couple of milliseconds before you make you do the thing, whatever it happens, but an influence of conditioning. So like the influence of conditioning in preferences, like for instance, I was thinking I can't eat kimchi.
It's deterministic.
Kimchi, that's and Korean people love it. They're like, you have to have it. It cleans out your system and all this kind of stuff. Okay. And then like there's a biological thing that happens too. Like I have a severe allergy. I don't need to tell everybody what my illnesses are because but if I eat this food, I'm going to die, so especially now that every time I get, as you get older, it's like, oh, like, can I watch you cook? It's like, I'm scared somebody's going to put it in there. And anyway, so, there feels like, so the preference is conditioned when I make the choice that I like red wine.
So, scientifically, they can, they can go to chaos. They can go to, one point he was taking that it's random. It's an emergent appearance and everything. But there's also this apparent deterministic world and everything that seemingly, Kathy was born in the West and everything. And then there is, there was wine, and everything. And she was not born in the East, where there was, this umami taste, what I'm saying, of kimchi that has this fermentation.
I like umami.
That fermentation that seems to throw the umami taste and everything.
Falling out again.
Oh, sorry.
I'm falling out again. I'm falling out again. Okay.
Can you hear me?
Go ahead.
Is that okay now?
I can hear you, but right. Gunvor can't hear me. Nobody can hear me. Okay, start again.
All right.
About umami.
Okay. So the internet should be okay now. So so there's just this predetermined thing that seems to appear, although it's also irrelevant, you know what I'm saying? But if you really even want to look at it, right? For example, everything can also change. Like for quite a while, I didn't know that Korean taste as well, and I didn't like it. I was kind of like, but I have some Korean friends that just kept on giving it to me. And then one day I just ate it and I'm like, this is going to go bad. They give me big jars, you know what I'm saying?
Oh.
And I didn't like the smell of it, you know what I'm saying? But somehow
the smell is terrible.
But now I crave it. I crave it, right? So it changes. Nothing is predetermined as well.
Nothing is predetermined in that
so it can appear as deterministic, but it's also indeterministic as well. Meaning that it's chaos basically. It's wildness.
Tried it a number of times. Yeah, you tried it a number of times. Okay, I don't know if I'm going to try it a number of times, but I don't know. They just the character when people talk when people talk about the character, you know what I mean, right? It's, and I know there's no choice. There are no choices. But it feels like the character has a like Emerson, the character has a personality. There's
of course
whatever.
Of course,
I mean, like, I don't want to keep naming the other people, but you know what I'm trying to say. To feel, okay. So I don't know you, but I would say, oh, he loves the computers and blah blah blah, that kind of stuff.
So, of course,
it shapes. It makes a shape almost.
And everybody also has that. Everyone has character. It doesn't matter who, you know what I'm saying? There's always going to be a character. but there's also no one behind that character, if you know what I'm talking about.
I know there's nobody behind the character.
There's nothing, there's no one choosing to be that character. There's no will to be that character. There's no choice. But yet there is an authentic, like full on character that seems
which is really alive. Which is alive.
It is. For example, like like Tony will have preferences of marmalade, you know what I'm saying? And right?
There's an aliveness. To character. Each one is like so sushi. Individualized.
Jim likes
and there's an individualized character. So that
the same as Kathy, you know what I'm saying? It's no different from any character.
Right. But I'm saying it almost like I don't know, it creates like a vision of something in some way. I don't know, that makes it real. Unreal. But
well, that's the illusion, right? The illusion is that there is, but there's also not. There is a character, but there's nothing behind it. Which is
there's no one there, but there's no one there.
It's unthinkable.
There's no one there.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? Can't win.
It's not about winning.
I don't know what I'm trying to win. I don't know there's nothing to win. No, I can't. But anyway. And then, like you said yesterday, you also said this. You said, like a lot of what happens in those seconds about the choice also is biologically determined.
Yes.
You said that.
Scientifically,
Okay, I'm just verifying.
So for example, when from a lens of that, innocence and everything, even the most hardened criminal is innocent. And it's hard in a society, especially in a society that is completely divided, right? There's a complete division in society. There's punishment. There's morally right and wrong. There's justice and everything. There's all of this appearance. But if you go to the particles of it, particularly just all the way down, that is just quarks, that there's really nothing firing behind all of these choices, that it's also the mystery that appears as wrong or right, the mystery that appears as good or bad, but the mystery is not divided. It's just animated aliveness. Oh, definitely. Thank you. Bye-bye. So when I say no matter whatsoever, I really mean that. Thank you. Gunver, please go ahead.
He's funny.
Hey, Emerson.
Hello.
No, I don't like that last thing, that no matter what you say. The character doesn't want it.
No.
But I think you actually answered iPhone Kathy what I wanted to ask was, because the seeming appearance of this character is then when she's talking about her sister and upcoming meeting, is they are souls. And family, is that a concept?
It is a concept, right? So everything in the dream, for example, there's nothing separate in a dream, but in the dream there is the dream of separation. So separation can appear as, my mom, my dad, my friend, my enemy, strangers, but the dream is whole. It's a whole illusion. It's not really separate, right? But in the dream, you can go all the way, research, like your lineage and your genealogy, that you're connected, but that's still an illusion, but it will feel absolutely real. If you, for example, go and get tested for blood to see if you're related, genetically to your mom, you will say that, yes, you are. But at the same time, you know what I'm saying? The whole package, the whole thing, the genealogy test, the DNA test is all illusory, but it feels absolutely real.
The animated, what did you call
animated aliveness? It's the new word of the week, right? Animated aliveness.
It's very good. It's like cartoon, really.
It's like, cartoon, Sometimes, you know what, and this is just another story, sometimes I look at things and it's just, I'm like, oh wow, Like especially when there's like there's a different golden. I like the most people know this, but I like the golden hour. It looks like it's filtered with goldenness. You know what I'm saying? It's like an animated aliveness, right? The sun, the fog, and everything, the trees and everything. And the breath that comes out when it's cold, the fog, it's beautiful. The mists, the dews, the dog wagging its tail, the dog barking. And it's just an immersive aliveness. There's no one inside and there's no one outside. Even the thoughts are cartoonish now. It's like thought bubbles. Like,
maybe there's such a love for these cartoons. Like I as a child, when one would watch all these Walt Disney basically nailed it.
Yeah, they did. Yeah,
and it's kind of like I kind of like really enjoyed when what is it called? This Jim? No, these two, the cat and the dog. This Jim and
Tom and Jerry.
Tom and Jerry. They're kind of like beating each other up in this incredible. It was just like, just amazing somehow to watch these cartoons. Okay, so family is just another concept, basically.
It's just there's really no relationships. There's really just another construct, right?
Oh yeah, that was what you said. Like there's no other apart from thought.
That's right. Yeah.
So now when this character is simply sitting with her worries, upcoming future with no future worries.
It's just another, it's just another appearance of something that's not a thought. It's irrelevant, basically. Yeah. And it maintains that there is someone in reality, if you really think about it. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And then the other thing is that when that final meeting will happen, like whenever, then
who knows? If it happens or not, even.
Yeah, but then seemingly a character comes into your, so all of a sudden there is a sister in this animated reality.
Yeah.
And I think your dog goes in and out all the time.
But fleetingly, right? It appears in and out, like her, for example, in and out the door, right? She's like,
that's what I mean. She's
squeaking,
in and out. Ella is really in and out the whole time.
Yeah. Usually I get my brother to take care, but he's working today. So it is what it is,
It is what it is.
So sorry for the
no. It's very sweet.
The co-hosting of Ella Bella.
It's a very sweet let's say explanation for what is.
Yeah. She's there and she's here and she's not here, right?
And
Okay, and there's
I'll
really no Ella Bella.
No.
See, Ella Bella doesn't know that she's an Ella Bella.
Lucky her.
Yeah. Ella Bella doesn't know that she has, others. Yeah. It's just what is. I'll talk about the animals later. I like that subject too.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Dr. Leela.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
I'm driving.
Oh, you are?
In traffic. I'm in traffic.
LA traffic?
I don't live in LA.
Oh, that's right.
Thank God.
Yeah.
This is great. I just sent you a text about feline philosophy.
Ooh.
It's a new thing. This very, very highfalutin philosopher.
I like highfalutin philosopher.
Wrote a very irreverent book about how his cat has the truth.
Oh wow!
Because the cat has no self, basically. Yeah. It's about all that we talk about. But he, after thinking his whole life away, got to this conclusion. Anyway,
what a beautiful recognition.
It is. It's a great, and he's so funny. He's British, so he's so tongue-in-cheek with it. It's so beautiful. What Kathy was saying about the character, what you're saying about the character, people get confused because they think, because their preferences, because each tree is different, or each snowflake is different, or each blade of grass is different, then there's someone causing that difference and making choices to be different.
That's beautifully put.
And that we develop a complex. We, through thought, own our difference.
Our differences are our similarities.
right? We think that because we don't love our parents, we're bad, and we have shame and fear, and the major problems that we suffer from. And it's not that, it is what it is. It's not quite as, I'm realizing that the whole work of the psychology is just reinforcing the story, and reinforcing the me that is the story maker. But there is a piece of it that is valuable. And this is the piece. The piece is what is can be felt freely, in freedom, in open freedom. The feeling of, I don't love my parents. Oh, look at that. It's arising. It's arising. What an arising that is.
Yeah,
right? There's nobody responsible for it, but let's feel it. And guess what? Underneath there may be grief, there may be rage for no one, about nothing, no story. But still, those feelings want to come up. And because the me, the ego, as we call it in psychology, is pushing it down our whole lives, we develop that. Is why, in my opinion, and this is my humble opinion now, many people who see through self in the radical non-dual method come back around to selfing, because this stuff that is wanting to be felt is not being felt by anybody because of anything, but it is biology. It's just like if you have a traumatized animal, it's going to act a certain way until it doesn't, right? It's just going to not want to be pet. It's going to want to bite you. It's going to be a certain way, and its biology is going to do a certain thing, right?
Yes, yeah.
And so that is real. That is fucking real. You don't need to do a lot of therapy and figure it out with your head. It's all below the neck. It's all below the neck. That's why the cat's so fucking smart.
Yeah.
It's all below the neck. And that's what I'm realizing, is that deserves its due too. And
it is,
due it's just to let it, it's not like you can let it be, but it is what it is. It is.
It just is, yeah.
And stop trying to push it away, figure it out, make it better, make it pretty, do all this stuff to it.
Isn't that what we do as seekers, right? We try to figure it out. We try to make it better. We try to improve it. But it's yeah.
There's
I'm just
going
somebody
to, else is talking. Is someone else?
I muted Nick. Hi, Nick.
Anyway, that's so I'm trying to integrate this, because honestly, I go back and forth between your meetings and my friend Pernille Danmore, and she's so magnificent.
Yeah.
She basically sees this the way you see it, but she does give onus, and I do too, to the biology, the biologic, the unique biology that we each are, which is the unique thing that is not a personal thing. It is just an event.
It's
like
this. It's what is appearing
or the
as
rain.
this. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, it's just what is seeing appearing as that. Yeah.
And when you see through self, that's still there. Hello. Knock on the thick skulls of a lot of people, because when they see through self, they assume they don't have a body anymore.
Yes.
But they don't have the body. The body's there, and it's just doing its thing. It's doing its thing. And sometimes that thing is rage, and sometimes that thing is wanting to sleep, and sometimes that thing is wanting to jump up and down with joy, and sometimes that thing wants to eat jam, and sometimes it wants to get laid, and sometimes it wants to smoke dope, and that's what it's doing.
That's right. Yeah.
So anyway,
it's kind of like the question. Thank you. No, thank you. It's what kind of like what I think Ben was asking. Oh, someone was asking, sorry, earlier about because there's a seeming confusion, right, when there is no one there, seemingly, that there is a there is a I always say that there's always going to be a felt sense of separation, meaning there's still going to be some body tactile thing, yawning, you know what I'm saying, in feeling and all that kind of stuff, all of this seeming interactive things that seems to happen, but there's no one behind it. So it gets confused when a speaker says that that the me drops away, meaning that there is no more tactileness or feelings and everything, and that's a confusion, because you know, if you call a speaker across the street, they'll turn around and say, hey. So there's
right, but you can look at the more and more subtle.
Yeah,
you can actually inquire, although there's no one doing it, in past emotion and psychology, into the later fetters. There is this thing about the felt sense of separation, the sense of space and time. Those are worth kind of playing with. I enjoy it for fun. It's Leela for me.
It is play, isn't it? Right? It's play.
To notice how I'm creating space and time with thought, and where I feel it in my body. I like to play with that. Does it matter? No, it doesn't mean a fucking thing.
No.
Oh, and the only other thing I was going to say is when Gunvor was talking about her sister, because I have a similar love-hate with my sister, is that the story that I am the one who, I am the sister who, and that other one is the sister who. I realized that I don't know my sister, that she's not going to show up. You're not going to see her, because who you're going to see or what you're going to see is something brand new, brand spanking new. You've never seen it before.
Yes, actually, that's a good way of putting it. Yeah, it's
you
fresh
have
and
no idea.
Yeah.
You have no idea. And once that humility, once you take a bite of that humble pie, the whole problem goes away. The whole problem goes away.
That's a good way of putting it. Yeah, it's because it's always fresh and new, isn't it? Because there's really there's no, and this is going to sound, you know, but there's really nothing before, or there's no after. There's no prior.
There's nothing
and after.
Before, and there's nothing in the future.
That's right.
And then the final nail in the coffin, since you like that metaphor, is there is no sister, and everything is you in a dream.
Yeah.
So all those assumed characters are just aspects of yourself. So take a good solid look at everything you think about everybody.
And to top it off, even that solid aspect of yourself is also illusory.
That is illusory,
all the way down. Yeah.
It is, but it's your VR headset you're wearing.
That's right. Yeah.
Right? It's
you
your
can also
icon.
say that,
that sister idea that I had, that my sister was, she was my icon on my desktop that was symbolizing my sister, you see.
Yes, that's
she
what
was
it is.
Created by me. She was created by me. She exits stage left and entered stage right, and did sister things that she always did according to my Shakespearean story.
Yeah. Which Shakespeare story?
And that's why families and embedded things like the Middle East never unembed, because they refuse to see each other freshly, and they refuse to see that point of view is completely a reflection of themselves and nothing else.
And even scientifically can say that everything's fresh and new at the same time too. That can
of course.
Yeah, that can also be backed by that. Thank you. That was brilliant. Thank you so much for sharing.
Okay. Bye.
Bye-bye. Keep on coming back.
Can you mute?
Sorry.
Can you
I will.
Emerson,
I will.
can you mute me?
Yeah, no worries. Anne.
Oh yeah,
Hi, Anne.
I was gonna.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Sorry,
Kathy.
sorry. No, I was just gonna say. Well, I know she left.
Yeah.
You know, when Leela just said, everybody is like, anybody you see is just like a projection in your dream.
Yeah.
You're really seeing yourself, but who's seeing it if you're not there either?
That's also
who would be
illusory. Yeah.
projecting?
It's illusion all the way. Yeah.
It's illusion all the way. Okay.
Yes,
okay. Clear. Thanks.
Yeah.
Bye
Okay.
bye.
Thank you.
Go find it. I mean.
And then Maria. Go ahead, Anne.
Hello, Emerson. Can you
Oh,
hear
hello,
me?
Anne. How are you doing?
Hi. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Preferences.
Yes.
The
We're back to
character
that.
has.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. There's no preference here, so that's okay. Go ahead.
So the character has preferences and they're innate. So there's no choice in the preferences. And you're born with that preference. So there's no choice in that.
If you want to look at science, which is just the narrative linear scientific kind of like looking at things, it can also be explained as something that's deterministic or indeterministic at the same time, or it could also be called chaos, right? But no one really knows. It's not.
I'm gonna be really truthful with you here.
Yeah, go ahead.
All this science stuff has got me in my sick mode. I'm going, yes, that's really interesting. I don't know what you're talking about, but
it's just giving a whole bunch of perspectives, although there's really nothing needed, right? So the seeming kind of like, if you want to talk radical non-duality, what seems to be appears just an appearance. So even there's not even a conditioning, it's just what is. So there's really no history, meaning that there's nothing. But if you want to look at the lens of perception, meaning of history and time, seemingly, right, in the illusion, in the dream, there could be science that basically can back up that there's really no one choosing of the preferences because it's already predetermined. Yeah. So either or, you know what I'm saying? In both kind of like scenarios, although there's no scenarios, there's no one choosing.
Predetermination is no one choosing.
Yeah. It's already predetermined, so it's just what is, right? So it's biological, neurological.
Yeah. Biological and neurological.
I'm not a neuroscientist, so I can't answer that. But from that studies,
biology,
right?
Is choosing.
Yeah. Well, there's really no one behind the biology, right? So it's just what is happening. It's not even a choosing. Yeah. But from a perspective of a character, when the character comes in, then the thought comes in that I chose that.
But preferences, sounds like.
So from the character's perspective,
positive.
Say that, it could also be negative. It could also be negative. So, for example, somebody will say that, well, that's my preference. That's what I always prefer. I prefer sweet compared to sour, right? So it becomes a knowing.
A preference and a bias.
Biases is also the same thing. Yeah, it's also something that's not chosen.
So they're predetermined.
It is. Yeah, there's really no agency. There's really no one choosing or no one preferencing or no one biasing. It's just bias happening. It's just preference happening. It's just choice seemingly happening, but there's no one behind it.
It's not about learning and familiarity.
It can appear like that. It can also appear like that in the storyline and everything, but there's really no one learning again. There's no one choosing.
The story about the kimchi is the same as if, so there's something that they do that, so they put up the color white.
So for example, I'll give you an example. For example, if you're allergic to let's just say if you're allergic to animals, to dander, is that you choosing to be allergic?
Well, that's your system just
it's the same thing as the same as preference. It's the same as preference. It's the same as choice. It's biological. It's determined by seemingly kind of like without your choice. There's just an idea that you're choosing it. There's an idea that you're allergic to cats and dogs, but it's just what is.
Yeah, but I suppose then it's the level of, because something that's to do with your immune system seems to be very subtle.
Yeah, but whose immune system is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's a discussion about the immune system that somebody has said exists, and it may or may not.
But there's no person behind that, outside of a thought. Yeah. It's just an immune system.
If that.
Yeah.
So
there's still no one choosing the immune system, you know what I'm saying, to see if it's immune or not. It's just what's happening. It's like there's no huge
biases then, doesn't it?
What's that? Sorry?
It kind of it has biases. It decides preferences. It decides what it wants to have in there and how it's going to respond.
But there's no one choosing that, isn't it?
There is no one choosing that.
There you go. Yeah.
but
okay.
But doesn't the immune system learn? So that's the whole thing behind immunization, isn't it? So that your body apparently learns to behave in particular ways.
But is there you choosing to learn? Is there you choosing to be that way, to be immune or not to be immune? It just happens automatically, doesn't it?
So there's nobody doing it, but it happens.
Yeah.
But somebody, who had the idea to do that?
No one. See, that's the point. There's no one. Like, for example, if you cut if you cut your finger, your blood is going to start, you know what I'm saying, kind of like healing right away.
Yeah.
But there's no one choosing to do that. It just happens.
Yeah, but there's sometimes here.
Yeah.
There's a nosiness about other people and what they do and whether it's right or wrong.
Yeah.
So, but the ideas of whether it's right or wrong will be different to someone else's.
There's not really right or wrong. It's just what. Yeah.
But that's that's how it lands here sometimes.
Okay. Then it's just an appearance. You know what I'm saying? It's just what is. But there's really no solidity behind that. There's really no. It cannot really be traced as truth or not truth, isn't it? It's just what is. It's just what seems to be happening, without any reason, without any purpose, really, even.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Anne.
No, there was something else as well.
Okay.
You know that this predetermined behavior that people have, where some of them will commit acts of atrocity just for a word.
They will not. They have the propensity. They might be able to do that.
But
the character
have the propensity.
Some people
but
don't.
They actually go forward with it. Some people have the propensity and they don't do anything.
Yeah, again, but that's what I mean. There's no choice. So it doesn't mean that you have the propensity to kill if you're going to do it or not. It's there. You know what I'm saying? But is it happen or not? It's a mystery. It could, it could not. Meaning there's really no one choosing behind that. It's just it's a whole bunch of different reasons that's really unnecessary. Scientifically, you can say it's predetermined. Some can say it's random. Some can say it's chaos. Some can say it's biology. Some can say it's just a whole bunch of many different stuff. But it all comes up coming empty, that there's no one doing it. Because what's really obvious is that there is the absence of a chooser, the absence of a, no one has agency. It's just all happening automatically, with or without, there might be an idea of a chooser, but that's just an idea. There might be an idea of conditioning, but it's just an idea. Yeah.
So how
this is not about trying to come up with the conclusion.
the response from here, because you were saying about compassion.
Yeah.
So the
character can be compassionate, or the character might not be compassionate. You know what I'm saying? It's irrelevant.
If somebody does something like that, and like the response to that might be for like the strongest measures, whatever that might be, and in some places, that's like, mandatory euthanasia or whatever. But So when you say compassion,
yes,
I'm not sure what you mean by that. I'm not sure
what I mean by that. Actually,
I'm
I'm
not
not
sure
sure.
what that,
I've
I'm not
talked for
sure
a
what
few
that
hours now. I
is.
don't know which one.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that is.
I'm not sure what that is too. There seems to be a compassionate action, meaning that there's really no other, you know what I'm saying, but there seems to be a compassion for others. Does that make any sense?
No.
I don't know too. I'm not sure which reference, what are you referencing? But it's just another word, you know what I'm saying?
Robert Sapolsky.
Yeah.
He was saying that because people they have no choice.
Oh yeah, okay. I get it now. Yeah. So if there is really no one, it's just all innocence, right? So there is this, you know, so if there's no one has the free will or agency to do or not do, there's really just innocence happening. So there's compassion that seems to arise from, you know, from characters that are in death rows and everything. Although from the lens of society, that is unforgivable. You know what I'm saying?
But what is that? When you say there is compassion, what?
Because it's seeing that there is no one that chose to do that. There's no one choosing to do any of that. Yeah.
So what is compassion?
Compassion is the feeling for others, seemingly, you know, it's kind of like this understanding, you know what I'm saying? Let's research it. We're just going with words again, right? So it's not really it's not really relevant, you know. So but let's just compassion basically is the sympathy and concern for the sufferings and misfortunes of others. So for example, somebody's on a death row. There seems to be, Dr. Sampolsky has a lot of compassion for people in a death row because he sees the innocence in what seems to have happened. That's not making any sense.
He has compassion, so he thinks he thinks they should go, they should be let out.
I'm not really sure what you're getting at.
He thinks they should be let out. I'm trying to, so it's not an action.
Compassion is a sympathy. Is somebody sympathetic towards another suffering? You know, because they can basically they can be seen through the lens of compassion, that it's actually innocent, rather than basically damning the person, saying that that's an evil person or whatever, because the person had no choice. It's neither good or evil. It's just what is. Yeah.
So it's a sympathy.
It's a sympathy because it seems that, you know, even with that, it's the, yeah, Maria said it's the recognition of innocence, that is all innocent. Yeah.
And that's so the compassion is a predetermined preference.
It's just what seems to happen, you know what I'm saying? It can also be predetermined in the thing, you know, it's, again, it's irrelevant of what's being expressed here, right? So compassion can arise or not, you know what I'm saying? It doesn't have to be predetermined, or it could be predetermined. It doesn't really matter. It's just innocence.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Anne. Maria, please go ahead.
I kind of wanted to reflect on what you were talking about with Leela, and just that kind of recognition of the projection onto the other, and owning thoughts and all. Like I did that kind of work for a really long time. So I really, like, when she was saying that, I was like, oh, that's very like familiar and comfortable of a space for me to be. And I guess what I'm wondering is, and I think this is probably like a personal thing to everyone. But the tendency to then want to like jump in and like organize the traffic, or do you know what I mean? Or try to control the situation, or stop suffering, basically.
Sorry, I'm just going to mute someone here.
Is because I almost feel like since coming to these meetings and hearing this message, there has been a little bit of a dogmatic take on it, because that's just in my character apparently. And so when I heard Leela talking about it, I was like, oh, it's so unfair. Like, she still gets to talk about that stuff. And like, I don't get to talk about it anymore, because like, for me, it leads down roads that cause more suffering potentially.
It reinforces what is not, you know what I'm saying? And it just keeps
exactly. And but on the other hand, I also know that I'm very I've had a lot of insight into that. And there's a huge chunk of my education, like 15 years of learning and code, blah, 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 blah. And so I guess I'm just kind of like lost a little bit, because it's like
I used to do that as well as projection and reflection and everything. It's all me and everything. But ultimately, who knows that again? It's just another figuring out something that can't be figured out. So there is this chaos that seems to happening, and that seems to be organizing chaos by thinking that it's all you. And there's nothing wrong or right about that. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Because say that again.
Yeah. So it's just this chaos and this wildness, this illuminated, animated aliveness that seems to appear. So when there is a construct, and the reason, that, I don't oppose it, but I don't agree with it as well, with the inquiry and everything. It's also what is, you know what I'm saying? It's not a denial, it's not acceptance, it's also what is. There's respect for that as well. But for this character, saying when it did that, it just reinforced, the meing and everything, rather than seeing it completely clearly as it is. So there's no trying to organize the chaos. It's just what it is. If you know what I'm saying, right? Because when when there's an ownership that seems, any hint of ownership that seems, and it might work for some characters, it might not, for this character, when there was an ownership of that, this is all me, this is all my doing and everything, did it create another rung of hell, so to speak?
But then the biological thing, which is like, when I do certain things, and I'm not gonna call them practices, but like when I breathe, or when I stretch, or when I tap, or when I whatever, it does seem to help the organism calm down and break the neural pathways that connect the physical response.
And if that works, that's perfect. Yeah, why not? I'm saying that's brilliant as well. It's not about rejecting or accepting anything. It's just basically saying it's just what is. So even what Dr. Leela was saying is also what is. What you're saying is also what is. Yeah, but for this character, what seemed in the story anyway, and I'm just talking in story, when there was a collapse of that character, there's nothing to work with anymore. It's perfectly as it is, meaning that there was no one, there was no one witnessing it. There's no feathers that seem to have, but seemingly what happens, and this is just another story, there's an authenticity, an openness to whatever it is that appears. So it's not dogmatic as it seems, you know what I'm saying? Because there's just this radical openness. Yeah. And I'm going to talk about that in the next one, because it's almost like being an animal. Talking about an animal, right? There's just this, it is what it is, right? So it's just this wonderfulness that seems to appear out of nowhere.
And I do also find that, like, yes, the tapping or whatever helps, but it also for sure starts to reinforce immediately.
So for this character, there's an addictive quality into bettering 100%. Itself, right? So an approach like, seeing everything as you becomes codependent for this character. If you know what I'm saying, it becomes an addiction again. It becomes another knowing. It becomes another understanding. Although it's not that way, you know what I'm saying? It's just clearly as it is. But when what seemingly occurred that never really occurred is just, I could not find anyone anymore, then there's no one to work with anymore. There's no one to tap to anymore. There's no one to do practices with anymore. There's no one to unfurl anymore. It's just empty.
And there's still a tiny bit of me that is like, but it was because you did like 25 million years of meditation.
And again, there's nothing wrong with with Dr. Leela saying that that's valid and an awesome, like, I talk to other characters now about their process, and I don't cringe anymore when they say that it's because of meditation, or it's because of practicing and everything, because that's also what is. That's also
right.
what is.
Okay. Yeah.
But
yes.
when we share the story, basically, we have a lot of similarities, because we want the full on shebang experience, it's the kind of thing.
Absolutely.
And so when I go into EFT or something, then I'm fully on it and everything, right? But but that neurosis transferred to that, and I become this neurotic EFTer.
Yes. And so I guess I'm in the stage where I still see other people, and there's still a lot of suffering, I have to say.
Yeah.
And that happens. But the more I tap it away, it just doesn't work. And so what's been happening more and more recently is actually just like stepping, like, just, this is it.
I think you're beginning to see that you're not really doing it. That you don't have a choice to tap or not. Therefore, it's not really relevant. Yeah.
Oh.
That's also innocence.
Oh, that's so sweet. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kind of like what Dr. Leela is saying, I was thinking, like, when it's seen that everything is appearing, that's also what is appearing as that. It's not to invalidate anyone.
No, exactly.
So it's not invalidating your EFT tapping. It's just what is. No one's doing that as well. And I think you're beginning to see that now. It's losing its mojo a little bit, right? Because there's no more 100%. Neurosis. Bingo.
Well, it's like, why would I waste my time doing that when I can, like, have a sandwich? Yeah. But
right. It's the same thing what I did before, because I was so caught up internally, right? Inwardly was every time that somebody would meet me, like, go inward was always my advice. Go internally. So I missed this. I overlooked what this is, that there's no internal, there's no external. And now I like walking. I like, when I see city lights, sometimes it looks like I'm a country bumpkin, because my eyes light up still. It's what is. Yeah. It's whatever it is. It doesn't have to look that way too. That's not a state or anything.
No,
but yeah, because I have spent so much time looking inward. I've spent so much, kind of like you, saying, it's like 25 years of internal seeking.
Yeah.
When there's no internal, really. It's a construct. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And thanks, Leela. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Leela. And Mark Bush, and then I think...
Wait.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
You didn't give me a chance to speak. I have to speak for a minute to this.
Go for it.
So this is the thing. I'm not talking about the psychological approach to parts work or internal family systems or any of that stuff. Okay, so that they've been there, done that a million times.
Yeah.
If you approach this with no self, with the full realization of no self, it's an entirely different thing.
Yeah.
Entirely, because it's understanding that this is a dream. Who's the dreamer? How can it all be a projection of you? No, there's no you and there's no other.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's just the unfolding of, like you're saying, of what is.
Yes.
But it's like, look at the magnificence and the beauty of it. And the reason it's relevant right now for here, after 35 years of therapy, I've done it longer than both of you youngins. Right, yeah. So just, I have my
we're not worthy. Humble bows, 35 years. That's
the reason it's worthwhile now, without any of that psychological self, is that the freedom, it self-liberates the minute it is allowed just to fucking be there. You will see the suffering. There's no one allowing it, but there's no one trying to fix it anymore.
Yes.
There's no one trying to tap it. There's no one trying to read 100 books about it or do 1 million workshops. There's none of that. And it's seen It's felt, that's it, by no one for no reason. And
like
so,
yeah.
So it's a different process. And then Emerson, I'm gonna call you on something.
Go for it.
You woke up. You were a spiritual teacher, and you had like essentially a physical and emotional and mental breakdown before you came to this. So don't tell me this was your first pass. I'm telling you, most people's first pass through no self, they come back around to suffering. And I know this because I've been watching this intimately and deep friends with many spiritual teachers.
Yes, totally. Yeah.
Many spiritual, look, I don't want to use any names, but some famous guy, very famous.
I know who it is.
I thought was the cat's meow, just retired because of his physical ailments.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is not uncommon. It is very common. The body keeps the score. It is nobody keeping the score. Nobody. This is all on the horizontal. It's all on the horizontal. It's all in the dream. It's happening to nobody. And yet there is the illusion of the biology. As long as we are wedded to samsara in some way in this incarnation for some mysterious reason, nobody knows why. This is what's happening, right? Okay, that's all I wanted to say, and I have to go get.
Love you,
Leah. Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah, sure.
So my experience with what you're saying is that it's like when stuff comes up in the body, it's like there's a movement towards now, like an opening towards whatever comes, not in a practice way, but just more in like a curiosity almost. Is that kind of
exactly? Yes. There's no more trying to fix it. There's no more trying to figure it out. There's no more giving it the trauma story. It's none of that. It's just, in a way, it's compassion. For the unfolding of the display of which your little body is a part. Okay, that little body thing, whatever it is, that you wake up and you see it in the bed and who knows what it is and why it's there. But whatever that is a part of the display, just like everything else.
Yeah.
And I think it needs as much compassion as the puppy dog and everything, right? It's
amen, sister.
But Dr. Leah, aren't you proud that I'm talking about science?
You're digging into the science big time, boy.
Yeah.
It's your new religion. Okay, bye.
Thank you. Bye. Mark. Hey, Mark.
Oh, hey.
Hey.
Yeah. Well,
where are you?
I'm in my bed.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, I didn't really have a question. I just wanted to chat. Just like it was just like I was talking with my roommate earlier. It was just kind of very obvious. Like notice that like this is just like responding or talking. It's not like I mean it just happens naturally. Like just.
It's ordinary, isn't it? It's very ordinarily just occurring. There's just this newness to seemingly what seems to be happening. There's this freshness to it. And that's just the simplicity of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I guess I actually want to ask you about like contraction in the body, because when I maybe like get on these calls or whatever, like I will feel contraction in like my chest sometimes, or like feet, maybe even my palms will get sweaty.
Yeah. And that's just another occurrence. It's just what seems to be appearing, but don't get caught up in that. You know what I'm saying? Because that becomes an identity. Sometimes it's not you that's contracted. It's just what's happening.
Right. But I think could that be like this is like fear, but could it be like I guess like a bodily reaction to hearing this, like the body is sort of because of I don't know. It's like
it could be right. You know, when I have a lot of one-on-ones that people convulse. You know what I'm saying? I don't release it because it's very private. So people are convulsing and everything. There's nothing that I'm doing. There's no claim here that I did anything, but it's just it's some people from trauma will call it fear leaving the body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Yeah, exactly. I think what did Lila say? She said, yeah, well, it's not that it matters, but it's just more like
in the story, you know what I'm saying? In the story, there's going to be some bodily thing. Like, for example, when this, kind of like what Dr. Lila was talking about, when this, I had a complete breakdown, you know what I'm saying? It was just madness. I could not even get out of bed, right? It was just kind of like, I didn't know what was happening. It was just almost like a purging of knowledge, a purging of belief systems, a purging. And again, I'm just using words for something that cannot really be cut up as true or not. So there's a seeming reaction to the body, but I didn't even notice it until seemingly all of a sudden, I always describe it's kind of like carrying something heavy, or people call it contraction. For me, it was the chest, you know, like it was heavy here. And then it's almost like carrying a backpack full of rocks. And I'm like, and then one day I didn't even know when that happened. I was like, I can't find that heaviness anymore. Yeah.
And it's not that it matters. It's just, as Lisa said, it's just a curiousness now about whatever
everything
is arising, or
whatever this is. Yeah.
Curiosity, whatever seems to be happening or not happening, and it's just like through the day as well. It's like I don't know what's gonna happen. You know, it's just like I just don't know. Like I just,
who knows
what's happening,
and who cares
what's gonna happen. It's and it's seemingly just things gets done or not get done, or we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Party. Thank you, Mark. We'll end it on that note. Thank you so much for sharing that. We're gonna have a break, and thank you so much, everyone. We'll be back in an hour.